with Corporatist Nation. I'm here to talk about the extreme effort to remove Bernie Sanders from the presidential Democratic primary. We all witnessed what happened in 2016, all kinds of primary shenanigans, the shutting out of Bernie when he had 30,000 people at an event, and then they'd be talking about Hillary when she had 200 or less. That was what happened in 2016. Similar things are going on in this campaign. I've watched it closely. Bernie Sanders, from my observation, is being shit on by the Democratic Party in a big way, in league with the establishment mainstream media. This is not a single armed effort. What we have going on here is multi-pronged. They're coming at us from every direction. The New York Times, Sydney Ember, read a couple of her articles. She is a former finance person on Wall Street, and so she's been charged with following Bernie around out in Iowa and New Hampshire and writing stories using sources that are of a contemptuous background, we'll say, just to be diplomatic. Then we have those who are trying to conflate Elizabeth Warren with Bernie Sanders, who is in no way close to being similar to Bernie Sanders in any way, manner, shape, or form. Elizabeth Warren was a Republican until she was the age of 50. Elizabeth Warren has problems with the truth. We can talk about her American Indian heritage, wink and a nod, that she used to gain an advantage at Harvard and getting into law school, etc. That's all well documented. She's well documented in talking about it on YouTube. She doesn't even get that there's so much ammunition against her that shows her to be who she really is, that she should be considering what it is she's trying to do and given the background that she's provided on herself. When we talk about Elizabeth Warren, we have to acknowledge the activities by her daughter, Amelia Warren Tyagi, a board member of Demos, that gave the Working Families Party $45,000, obviously in return for their endorsement of her mother. That's all well documented, it's easily searched. But again, here we have the mainstream media, not a peep. Now let's talk about Bernie's recent trip to the hospital. I have a background clinically in healthcare, and I have provided care for lots of people with cardiac issues in emergency departments, intensive care units, etc. And the fact of the matter is, what we know about Bernie Sanders' problem was he did have a myocardial infarction. That is the technical term for a heart attack. They come in various grades as measured by damage to the cardiac muscle. And of course, if we had his troponin numbers and his left ventricular ejection fraction, we'd have a better idea how he's doing. But you know what? Bernie is not sitting around in a wheelchair with supplemental oxygen. Bernie Sanders had a single vessel disease with the plumbing, and that's exactly what it is. It's the plumbing of arterial oxygenated blood that is supplied to the heart, to the coronary arteries. That's what the coronary arteries do. They supply oxygenated blood to the heart muscle. And he had one vessel that had a couple of what we call lesions that were corrected with stents. If you take a ballpoint pen and you see that little spring, that kind of is representative to the general public of what a stent looks like. It's a lot more architecturally complicated than that, in that it's kind of compressed down and then deployed by the cardiac catheterization apparatus by the interventional cardiologist who does the procedure. But I personally have had a cardiac catheterization, and I had a couple lesions, but they don't meet the threshold for deployment of a stent. I'm on aspirin and a statin, which is the standard for that sort of thing. I'm sure Bernie Sanders is on something similar, and he's probably on Plavix for to prevent platelet aggregation, given he's had a stent. And is, I'm not a cardiologist, but I've taken care of plenty of people like this. And if Bernie Sanders has not sustained significant damage to his myocardium, that's what cardiac muscle, heart muscle is called. It's a different kind of muscle than the muscles in your legs and arms and so on that beats autonomously. That's why you don't think about it. Your heart beats by itself. Then if he hasn't had any significant damage to that muscle, Bernie Sanders can be out doing whatever physical activities he cares to do. And so I'm looking, I pick up my Google on my phone today, and what do I see? I see, Christopher Hanlon. He's a professor of literature out at Arizona State University. I was for Bernie Sanders in 2016, but now it's time for Bernie to quit and get behind Elizabeth Warren. Well, we're not going to get behind a lying sack of shit like Elizabeth Warren, who is owned and operated by Wall Street and corporate America and the powers that be. Let's talk about a little bit about Elizabeth Warren. Aside from her lying about her Indian heritage, it's all on tape, about her daughter feeding $45,000. Also, she's a graduate of Yale and Wharton School of Business. So we're talking Ivy League. Elizabeth Warren is no ordinary person. She's no school teacher, and it is documented that she did not, she was not fired from her so-called elementary special education teaching job because she was pregnant. Another big fib. She is a chameleon. Elizabeth Warren is a chameleon. She'll tell you whatever she thinks you need to hear. Now, how's Bernie Sanders? Bernie Sanders' record for 40 plus years, this guy has had it right. And the rest of the people running government have had it wrong. I spent 40 minutes with Joe Biden once over in Orlando when I was at an event back in 2007. Him and the silver-haired senator from Connecticut, whose name I can't recall at the present time. Joe Biden's a bullshitter, but Joe Biden's not our biggest threat. Joe Biden has done himself in with the shenanigans with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden, it'd be nice to be able to not know a damn thing about, energy or Ukraine and get a job on the board of directors of a Ukrainian gas energy company and pick up $50K a month. I mean, come on, wink and a nod. Where do you think that comes from? It doesn't come from Hunter Biden's great, abilities. It comes from connections. So, and you look at Liz Warren. Liz Warren's daughter, she's also involved with a healthcare company. You think you're going to get Medicare for all out of Elizabeth Warren? Come on, she's so tied in, either directly or indirectly, with corporate America, including the healthcare industry. We don't stand a chance if you try and put her in there. And quite frankly, I will not vote for Elizabeth Warren. I'm not going to vote for an inserted, establishment-owned candidate whereby this whole primary process has been co-opted and choreographed. Perez, he's a piece of shit too, running the Democratic National Committee. It makes me sick every time I see the guy talk. The fact of the matter is, Tulsi Gabbard is right. Tulsi Gabbard is right, but I don't think that she should be boycotting this debate. She should be on stage where she has the biggest audience and let everybody have it. Let the people know when she's got the biggest spotlight on her that she can get, at least at this point, and let them have it. And I think she could do a number on Elizabeth Warren, which she may have that opportunity if she goes to that debate. So I'm hoping Tulsi Gabbard attends that debate. Bottom line, Bernie Sanders is the only person you can trust. The difference between all the other candidates and Bernie Sanders is that you can and should trust Bernie Sanders because he never vacillates. He will not bend over to tell you what he thinks you want to hear. He's going to tell you the truth, and he's going to act on it as he has throughout his political career. Bernie Sanders always does the right thing. He's not going to, he has a Jewish religious background. Is he siding with Netanyahu and settlements? Well, you know what? Elizabeth Warren was lauded by a Candy Glazer, a Western Massachusetts Democratic leader who also served as an AIPAC executive committee member, praising Warren for her strong voting record on Israel. That strong voting record included signing an AIPAC-sponsored letter in 2016 urging President Obama to veto a one-sided UN resolution condemning Israeli settlements. Repeated support for sending money and military aid to Israel and co-sponsorship of a Senate bill earlier that year that handed Israel a total of $38 billion over the next 10 years. Other pro-Israel PACs have also showered her with donations. Honest to God, I mean, this woman is a shill, and she will do anything for anybody that's got a check for her. So she also cited Madeleine Albright as her foreign policy advisor. Member of the Carlyle Group. Look into the Carlyle Group if you're not aware of what they do. She's going to accept big donor dollars in the general if she's the nominee. Let's not make her the nominee. We can save that issue. Accepted dollars from multi-billionaires, CEOs, executives of corporate America. Okay. She defends Israeli shelling of Gaza. I mean, come on. Is she for the little guy? Not on your life. So, again, this is Cliff McWilliams. That's just a taste. I'll be back again with more facts. And, let's not forget, who's gonna work to get you access to quality, affordable health care? And as a guy who has an MBA in health systems management and who's taken care of lots of people and seen a lot of people that decided not to try and access health care when they really needed to do so, who were permanently disabled because of that decision, because of the fear of bills. You don't want Liz Warren, whose daughter is in the healthcare business, corporate-wise. You think she's going to get you Medicare for all? Not in your life. This is Cliff McWilliams for Corporatist Nation, signing off. And I hope you'll, if you like what I'm talking about, I hope you'll spread it around. Because we are not going to allow these owned shills to destroy Bernie Sanders because they're spreading lies and misinformation along with the corporate media to people who maybe don't have as much time as we do to pay attention to what is actually going on. Thank you very much. Bernie Sanders, I'm wearing this hat and I'm not taking it off. Thank you very much.